You got to think strategically. You have to think long term, and you have to have patience if you want to go far with meta ads. What's up, everyone? In today's video, I'm going to share a story where long-term strategic thinking and patience really paid off for a client. I'm going to talk about how new ad accounts and seasoned ad accounts behave completely differently. And I'm also going to show you a real live ad account example to drive my point home. All right, so here's the sad truth about meta ads. It is extremely difficult at the beginning. Why? So new ad accounts, usually they don't have much conversion data. So when you put ads out into the world, Meta's algorithm isn't as good as, say, a seasoned ad account with a lot of conversion data at finding your potential customers. So what happens? Well, your ad ends up spending a lot of money without getting conversions, and you end up either breaking even or operating at a loss for a while until you gather up enough conversion data to start seeing better results. So at the beginning, you don't know what settings work best for you. You don't know what creative types work best for you. You don't know what creative formats work best for you. So you have to spend a lot of time, effort, and most importantly, money on figuring out what's going to work for you. New ad accounts tend to be extremely fragile, okay? So when you find something that's working, it's really best for you to not mess with it too much. Don't touch it. Like, that's why I like to duplicate or start new campaigns so that I leave the thing that's working alone and start working in a new campaign. Because in a new ad account, it's just so easy to break things. So my advice, if you're working in a new ad account, is if you find something that's working, just leave it alone. Let it gather conversion data in your ad account. It's super important. The more purchase conversions that you get in your ad account, the more stable your ad account is going to be over time. So characteristics of a new ad account: super fragile, very volatile, some really high highs, some low lows. You'll see a lot of really strong days for like the first 24, 48 hours of a campaign's life, and then it just dies off. If you ever touch a campaign, it tends to break. Yeah, just really fragile is the main thing. They don't react that well to scaling. If you scale it too quickly, not only does the campaign that you have going collapse, sometimes the whole ad account results can collapse. So it's very precarious. So you almost have to be more disciplined, which is, it's kind of ironic because you know less when you're first starting out. So maybe you're touching things too often, or you're being too aggressive in the ad account. That can really harm you at the beginning. Let's talk about a seasoned ad account now. Seasoned ad accounts with a lot of purchase conversion data, they act like a well-trained pet or something, like a well-trained golden retriever, let's call it that, right? They do exactly as you want. They're super resilient to macro volatility. You can typically scale them up and down without having to worry that your results are going to drop. You can edit things, you can add new creatives in, you can take creatives out. Like, they're so much more resilient to the things that you do. It's so much more forgiving, I guess you could say. So that's why it's so important to try to gather up as much conversion data as possible to get to that stable place as soon as possible, because you tend to get better results. You tend to have much better time managing the ads. You don't have to stress as much. You don't experience such high highs and such low lows. Of course, there's still volatility, and even the biggest ad accounts that are spending like 7, 8, 9 figures still experience macro volatility, but it's not as dramatic as a brand new ad account where you go from having 4 or 5 sales to no sales for like 3 to 4 days, something like that. One way that I like to think about this just reminded me of a metaphor. So I think about ad accounts kind of like boats in the ocean. Okay, so new ad accounts, you can think of it like a little sailboat, right? And then really seasoned ad accounts with millions of dollars of ad spend, big like oil tankers or just like massive yachts or something, or like a cruise liner. Now, what happens when the waves get really choppy? Well, obviously the sailboat gets thrown around. It might even sink. The cruise liners, they're pretty resilient. The oil tankers, they're built for that, right? They're able to sustain and maintain their balance throughout the volatility. So as you gain conversion data, it's like you're building up your boat or you're building up your house, however you want to think about it. So you really need to get to the point where you gather up enough conversion data to where your ad account is much more stable, resilient, and most importantly, profitable. So what's the point of me sharing all that? Well, I say it a lot. I'm going to say it again. Meta ads is 100% a data game. The more data that you can collect in your ad account, the better. Whoever has the most conversion data wins. And how do you get conversion data? You got to spend money. right? The person getting the most rich out of all this obviously is Mark Zuckerberg, right? But Meta ads is not fair. It truly is like if you have more money, you will have a better time. And I hate to say it, but that's just how it is. So if you have the money to spend to get the data into your ad account, do that. You're gonna beat out the people that don't have the money to do it. Now, that doesn't mean spend recklessly to try to get some conversions. At the beginning, you should really be trying to get, at bare minimum, break even, right? Get the ads to pay for themselves. For me, that's the bare minimum that I will accept. I don't accept, major losses or sustained losses. Sometimes you have to play that game, and I'm going to show you an example of where we did operate at a loss for a while, but now we're profitable. Okay, so it's paying back the losses, and it's a kind of an interesting example. But your goal should be to try to at least break even at the beginning, and then find profitability. If you have the funds to operate at a loss for a little bit to gather up conversion data, okay, great. I mean, you're playing the long game. You have the privilege to do that as a strategy, by all means, do it. But if you don't, if you are more strapped for cash, then you really need to try to make better creatives, to have a stronger offer, to break even at the bare minimum. Obviously, we're trying to make a profit right from the beginning, but if that is a challenge, then try to at least get your ads to pay for themselves. Now, one last little point that I want to make, it's about the learning phase. I personally don't really believe that the learning phase makes a huge difference in your Meta ads performance. I believe that it's Meta's way of trying to get you to spend more in the platform, right? I've had campaigns that are stuck in learning limited do really, really well. And I've had campaigns exit the learning phase do really, really poorly. So I haven't seen a huge correlation of exiting the learning phase and seeing a major improvement in performance. So I would be wary of basing your whole strategy around trying to exit the learning phase, okay? That's not the goal. The goal is to bare minimum break even. Obviously, we want to be profitable. When we find something that works, we leave it alone and start working in another campaign. Try to set up another profitable campaign. There is a tipping point. Okay, I've seen it on several ad accounts where they act like a new ad account for a long time, and then suddenly they collect enough conversion data that the ad account starts acting differently. Suddenly, our new campaigns are breaking even right away, or they're profitable right away, or it just seems more resilient. The swings, the up and downs are not as big. Okay, so there is a tipping point that you can cross over once you reach a certain amount of conversions in your ad account, right? And that truly depends on how much conversion data you have. It depends on your business, right? If you have a low cost thing where you can get a lot of conversions really fast, or something that's really in demand, then your ad account's gonna get trained faster and it might not cost as much. But if you have a high ticket item where getting one conversion costs you $500, then it can take quite a while to train your ad account. But just know that if you stick it out, you can get over that data hump and your ad account will start acting completely differently and things get much easier. So just keep in mind, the hardest part is the beginning. If you stick through the beginning, you get better at Meta ads, you get better at making ads, and ultimately the profits that you make should pay back those losses from the earlier stages. So keep that in mind when you are going through your Meta ads journey. All right, so now let's get into our story. So I started working with this client in May of 2024, okay? Brand new business, hadn't really spent a lot of money on Meta ads, so really starting from basically ground zero, okay? They sell a physical product, okay? Their break even is around 1.6x, 1.7x return on ad spend, and they are in the Christianity niche, okay? Now, my mentor made me aware of this. Basically, there used to be a lot of interests related to the Christianity niche, right? You could target churchgoers, you could target people that read the Bible, and so on. Well, as you know, Meta has been taking away all these various interest targeting options. So what happens? Well, this created almost like a de facto monopoly in the Christianity niche because we have all these businesses that have been able to train their ad accounts over several years, targeting very specific interests that are targeting specific people that are interested in Christianity. And now they've taken away those interests. So their ad accounts are already trained, right? They don't have to worry about it. They have the conversion data. But new businesses that are coming in now, they don't have the ability to target these interests, right? So all they can do is target, related interests or lookalikes or just go broad, right? And that's not really fair. Like if you look at some of these really established businesses in the Christianity niche and you saw their CPMs, they're super low. They're super well trained, right? They have like $9, $10 CPMs, whereas a new business in this space is looking at like $20, $30, $40 CPMs right out of the gate. I became aware of that, and that obviously is a major challenge, right? What are we going to do? How are we going to get conversion data and target people effectively that are interested in this Christianity related product if we don't have these interests? So what did I do? I started testing various strategies, right? I started testing lookalikes. I started testing interests that are semi-related, maybe like choir or barbecues, and just like maybe some bands, musical bands that were kind of similar or semi-related to the Christianity niche, but nothing was really taking off, okay? Eventually, I started to get broad to work to a degree, right? We were operating at a bit of a loss at first, and then over time, we started gathering conversion data, and then ultimately now we are profitable and scaling. So I want to show you this in the ad account so you can see the progression. I made them aware of this at the beginning, so they knew, and they were in the position to kind of invest up front. And I told them, look, if we can stick it out, it's going to be hard in the beginning, but if we can make it over this data hump, things will be different, and the profits in the future will pay back the losses from the past. So, and that's exactly what happened and is what is happening. And now we're setting up for a massive 2025. So I want to show you the actual ad account, so check this out. I started with them in, like I said, May of 2024, and let's take a look at the results, right? So we started off super low budget, right? We spent only $1,200 for the month, 0.42, right? So this is an ad account with no conversion data, right? We're in the Christian niche. We don't have any interest to target these people specifically. So it's very difficult, right? We're doing our best. We're testing various strategies here. You can see I was testing lookalikes. I was testing stacked interest. I was testing broad, and ultimately I started getting conversions with broad here. Okay, so now let's look at June. 2,200 at 0.48. So we're getting more conversions, but we're still not profitable, right? Like I said, the break even is like 1.6, 1.7. So we're ways off, right? Things are not good, okay? But they were determined, I was determined to make this work, so we continued on, okay? July, $3,200 spent, so we're roughly $100 a day. Now we're at 1.28. Okay, now we're in the ballpark, right? 1.6 is the break even or so. We're getting close, and we're spending a little bit more. And you see the conversions are starting to pile up. We have 79 this month. Now let's look at August. 4,400, 93 conversions, 0.97. Okay, still not amazing, but we're getting there. September, we scaled down a little bit, 3.3K, 88 conversions at a 1.31. Still not profitable. Okay, so now we're May, June, July, August, September. We're 5 months in, and we've been unprofitable thus far. Now October, 4,700, 100 conversions, 1.16. Okay, now is where we start to see a little bit of a difference here. 8,300 spent, 200 conversions, 1.42. Okay, we're able to spend a little bit more now. Okay, we're getting into the holiday season, we're getting into Black Friday and all that. We're able to generate more conversions in this ad account. And now is the first month where we're finally profitable here. We spent 23K at a 1.92. Okay, the break even, like I said, 1.6, 1.7. So we're slightly profitable now. 650 conversions. So for me, this is that tipping point. Okay, we've crossed over going from a new untrained ad account to now a trained ad account. Now you can see in January, obviously we come down after the holiday season. We're spending 5.66 out of 1.77 return on ad spend. So now we're profitable, and our floor is now $5,000 a month, or a little bit more than $5,000 a month. And now if you look at February, right? Now we're at 5.7K. We have one more day left in February, and we're at 1.82. So, and let me just tell you, from somebody that's managing this ad account, it's acting differently. It's way more stable. The swings are not as high and low as before. Um, and like if you look at today, right? We never even saw a 3x return on ad spend day, and now we're at a 3.21 for today, right? Um, I think it was, I don't know, was it Tuesday? We had a really big day as well. Is a 2x ROAS. So like we're seeing some pretty consistent 1.6 break even, 1.08, 1.65. The fluctuations aren't as intense as before. So so where does that put us now? Well, we're spending around $6,000 a month or so. We're profitable. Okay, so we're starting to pay back the losses from the past. And we're heading into peak season for this niche, right? We're talking Easter, right? In April. That's going to be huge. And then again, we learned from last year's Black Friday and Christmas, which was massive, and New Year's was big, right? So now we're going to be more prepared. The client is also working on increasing their average order value, right? They are working on their business, their customer retention systems. We're dialing this whole thing in, right? And we're expecting, like they even told me recently that they feel like they're on the cusp of blowing up in a good way. You know, they feel like they're about to scale massively, right? And if we take a look at their Shopify, you can see, right, we started here, and this is just looking at their revenue, right? Look at this spike in December, right? And now you can see that this floor is much higher than it was back here. You see, we're getting way more sales now, way more revenue generated this time at this point of the year compared to last year. So we're growing. The business is growing, okay? So this is an example of somebody thinking long term, accepting that it's going to be very difficult at the beginning, sticking it out during the hard times, and now reaping the rewards. And I'm telling you, this year, I mean, we're definitely going to cross 10,000 orders by the end of the year, for sure. Probably going to, I would say we're going to do close to 7 figures by the end of the year, if not surpass 7 figures. We'll see. And you know, this is just one of several businesses in their portfolio, but it's just such a nice experience to kind of go through the fire, go through the hard time with them, and then now come out on the other side of it and be able to help scale their business and grow substantially. Okay, so yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you. All right, you guys, that's it for today's video. The moral of the story is it's really difficult at first. You need to try to persevere through the tough times at the beginning. You got to think long term, you got to think strategically, and you need to have patience if you're going to make it far with meta ads, okay? If you want to keep learning, I really encourage you to watch some of my other videos. I'm incorporating a real live ad account example in all of my videos so you can learn from somebody that's actually doing this all day, every day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.